like I said, women do typically get murdered in those situations more often than men do. I'm not saying that men don't get murdered by women serial killers, but most of the time it's men murdering women. But if they group all women into that, they're doing the same thing as the man versus the bear. They should probably take some time to think about what women do face when it comes to men, because even the man they're fantasizing over killed women.
Well, the collective of women doesn't have very much empathy for the men's issues that men face, and it's because of certain men that have been outspoken and have come out with negative comments about women and complaining and all the same stuff that we see in our comments.
You can, and everybody should, man or woman, look at the actual problem that someone's trying to address, even if they're not doing it in the correct way.
Right.
And take that, and people should try to explain their grievances in a way that is respectful.
Yeah, I agree.
And will actually have somebody empathize with you. It's a choice.
Yeah.
The women that are talking about the man versus bear thing, they're not talking about men that they, I would say, like, are insanely attracted to. They're talking about men who would, you know, somehow get them in a precarious situation, because that's why it's man versus bear, right? You're not hanging out with a bear. You're not inviting the bear to your house.
Right.
It's the same sort of man. It's not a man that you're actively like dating or searching out. Again, I'm not justifying
both are
that
bad
for the murderer, but I'm saying that it's the men that will come and stalk you or like find you or like talk to you one time and are showing up and like being like, no, but I love you, but and like acting that way.
Oh, I get it.
Versus the bear, because the thing is, that's what the playing field is, right? The whole argument is that a bear is not going to come attack you just because you're wearing a bikini or inappropriate clothing.
Right.
He's not going to come like and have sex with you before he kills you.
I mean, I've never been assaulted by a bear.
Dolphin might, but not a bear. And then, you know, so it's those sort of things. They're not talking about men. They're probably not even talking about men they're going on a date with. They're talking about men that are like, you know, like I just said, like talk to a girl maybe one time and now he's obsessed, and then she doesn't even really know he exists, and then she goes and lives her life, and maybe she's got a boyfriend now, and now he's pissed and he wants to kill her or the boyfriend or you know,
or their pet bear
or both.
I mean,
who knows? But that's where that argument is. So I don't think they go like, I get that men will try to connect those things and they'll be mad about it. But it's not the exact same. And then those women who are still going after that murder guy, like that's mental problems that they have going on.
Either of them wasn't good, right? The man versus bear thing was not a good look at all, because again, you're grouping men, you're doing the same thing that you're right. And,
I agree.
And then when you're one of those women that said, I would choose the bear, and then you also reposted the $1 million baby of the murderer in the courtroom, it's really hard to take you serious at this point, right?
I agree about the man versus bear thing, but at the same time, women, if they're going to be held accountable for that, then men need to stop doing what you just said. Men need to stop being like, see, this is why women do this, because they're the same thing.
Right, exactly.
Like the man versus bear thing is the same as seeing something that supports your agenda and your sort of like victim mindset and perpetuates that.
Exactly. And then you're like, women do this. And then it's exactly. So it's the same thing.
And to be honest, I have more empathy towards women though, because like I said, women do typically get murdered in those situations more often than men do. I'm not saying that men don't get murdered by women serial killers, but most of the time it's men murdering women. And a lot of times men do rape women. Can we say that word? Grape. I have to edit that out. Women before they kill them. So it's like, and as a woman, just thinking about that being your last living experience, I just want men to think about the opposites. They never think about this.
Right, yeah. Because
they never think about this. They're not worried about that happening to them. They're not worried about somebody forcing themselves upon them and then murdering them. They're not even really worried about a woman murdering them unless it gets to a point where a woman really is upset with him. But he's not constantly going on dates like, I'm worried about this.
Yeah, unless they're in prison. In which case, it's still a man that's going to do that.
Well,
But it's like
that's again,
so.
if you're fantasizing over a man in prison, that you got other problems.
No, if you're in prison as a man, then
Oh,
then you are going to worry about that.
Well, you got in prison.
You don't really want to
somehow,
go on those
so-
dates anyway. So, but you're going to have to go on those dates. So
Yeah, well, you did something to put yourself in that situation. So I don't have empathy versus
Maybe,
a woman who's like abducted and then that happens. That's a lot different experience.
It's a different experience.
Yeah, but I think if men understood it more, and I'm not justifying, I know we've gone a different angle, but
no.
I'm just saying that you're saying men would be upset from that, hearing that. And I understand that because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if they group all women into that, they're doing the same thing as the man versus the bear.
Yeah.
And then they should probably take some time to think about what women do face when it comes to men, because even the man they're fantasizing over killed women.
Right. But that's the problem, right? See, because if you want men to take it seriously about the threats that women face, and then there's women, and again, it's not all women, but a select group of women and a good amount of them that are now fantasizing about this murderer who straight up ran over women with his car and backed over them multiple times and enjoyed the process gleefully in court as he described it. When it's that, then it's very difficult for those guys to then take what you just said serious, which they should, but it damages the cause. Just like we've talked about, like so many guys damage their cause. It's like you damage the cause when you do that kind of stuff.
You have to use your humanity. Like it doesn't matter how women are responding. I hear what you're saying, and I agree. Women shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
This is a very serious matter, but you can look past how other people are reacting and don't allow that to influence your reaction.
And you should, obviously. Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how women are acting. Just like men rally for, like men's mental health problems that aren't taken seriously.
Right, exactly.
And there's some men who, they might be like, no, we don't need anything. We're good. Like, why are you guys, whatever.
Right.
But there's men out there who really do want that. And women don't sit there and they're like, well, some of these other guys kind of ruined it for you guys. Like, we don't take it seriously.
They do, subconsciously. Like I'm saying, and that the same thing happens with any of the gripes that men have, right? That complain.
But not the collective of women. And that's what I'm trying to say is not the collective of men should do that.
Well, the collective of women doesn't have very much empathy for the men's issues that men face. And it's because of certain men that have been outspoken and have come out with negative comments about women and complaining and all the same stuff that we see in our comments. Those guys make it so that it is less likely that women will have empathy for those points. You see what I'm saying? Because of how they come across.
I think you can still empathize with what they're talking about without empathizing with the certain situation that they're trying to paint, because they're doing it in the wrong way. Like, I don't think a woman might look at that and be like, okay, this guy, he's just spewing whatever.
Right.
But you can, and everybody should, man or woman, look at the actual problem that someone's trying to address, even if they're not doing it in the correct way.
Right.
And take that, and people should try to explain their grievances in a way that is respectful.
Yeah, I agree with
and will actually have somebody empathize with you. Because if, like, you hurt somebody,
right,
or like you did something wrong, or, somebody hurt you,
right,
and okay, it's better if somebody hurt you. Like, let's say you did something to hurt me.
Okay, right.
You, I don't know, called me a bitch or something.
Okay.
And I'm like, I just went off on you and I was like calling you names and yelling and like telling you I hate you because you did that.
Right.
Are you going to have any empathy for me?
No, I'm going to be like, see, you're a bitch.
Right. Right. And that's what these men are doing.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly what they're
proving
doing.
The point. Exactly. That's it. Right.
But it doesn't mean that it takes away from, like, you can still look at me, right, acting like that and be like, okay, because you have worked on yourself. You have a deeper understanding.
Right.
You can look at me and be like, she's obviously hurt. Right.
Right.
And so
like,
if you have that knowledge, you can look at these men and be like, okay, they're hurt. And you can understand where they're coming from.
Right.
But if you do it in the wrong way, you are going to have less empathy. Just like these women that you're talking about, they have less empathy.
Right.
But where it gets messed up and where men typically have learned to group together nowadays is that they're over here with their own version of man versus bear, and women are over here with man versus bear.
Right.
And so everybody just hates each other. We talked about this. This is like the whole problem. Yeah. But part of the problem is generalizing all women that are acting this way and generalizing all men that are acting this way.